What is up, everybody? Welcome back to French Bread's Dark Souls 3 lore run. I am French Bread, or Chris if you prefer. And we are right back where we left off last time, standing in the balcony above the cathedral hall where we just took out Aldrich 2 times in a row, actually. And as promised, we're going to finish our exploration of Anor Londo. There's basically only one room left. And then after that, we're going to head back to Firelink. And I'm going to discuss a few more things about Aldrich. And then we're going to work on some NPC quests. If we've got time, we'll start making our way towards the Profane Capital. So, at the top of these stairs, in ages past, we would have been greeted by the, I guess, the heavenly image of Guinevere, daughter of Gwyn, goddess of bounty and fertility. But in this point in time, with Gwendolyn well and truly dead, the illusion of Guinevere is gone and died with them. All that's left is this single ring, the Sun Princess ring. Let's take a look at that. Ring associated with Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight and eldest daughter of Gwyn, the First Lord. The ring is vaguely warm, like a beam of sunlight, and gradually restores HP. Guinevere left her home with a great many other deities, and became a wife and mother, raising several heavenly children. So, to a certain degree, a very straightforward ring, but one that is even so very important in building the larger picture with regards to where in the world is Guinevere. Where did she go after she left Anor Londo? I guess I'll just remind everyone now of that information on the divine blessing. Holy water blessed by the Queen of Lothric. The Queen of Lothric, married to the former king Osiros, was initially revered as a goddess of fertility and bounty. After giving birth to Ocelot, her youngest, she quietly disappeared. Yeah, I am definitely, no need to be transparent about it now, I am definitely speculating that perhaps Guinevere fled to Lothric, where she, for a time, made a life for herself, raised several children, of which Ocelot was the final child she gave birth to. We'll, as you might expect, revisit that topic when we revisit Lothric itself. For now, we're going to descend and head back to Firelink. Say goodbye to Anor Londo. Not a bad view, actually. Now that the evil has been expunged, you get a straight shot outside of the cathedral. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know if it's just in my head, but it kind of feels like a... Obviously we still have this crap on the floor, but it feels as if the cathedral's been purified somewhat. Okay. First things first, we're going to want to talk to Ludleth. and not just to check out the items that we can make from Aldrich's soul.
Ah, well met. That at last returned. Knowest thou the name Henry of Astora? The brave lad left this as thanks. Though gave no elucidation, so happened upon any twisted souls? Ah, most fine and
So Henri came back to Firelink one last time, left his sword to us as a gift of thanks, and departed thereafter. We'll have to follow up on that shortly. But first, let's go right back to Aldrich. I want to check out his items and detail a few more things. First thing we can get is a miracle. Life Hunt Scythe. Miracle of Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. Steals HP of foes using illusory scythe. Aldrich dreamt as he slowly devoured the god of the dark moon. In this dream, he perceived the form of a young, pale girl in hiding. I feel like that's gotta be Priscilla, right? She was not necessarily in hiding so much as she was locked away in the painted world. But she certainly fits the bill of a young pale girl. It is possible that this might be referring to Yorshka, but since it's referring to Life Hunt Scythe, I think it's more likely to be Priscilla. And this actually does solidify the fact that Gwendolyn was very much aware of Priscilla and where she was. For him to have so intimate a knowledge that Aldrich could mimic the Life Hunt Scythe just from the memories he was devouring. Let's look at the other item before we go any farther. Dark Moon Longbow. Longbow of Dark Moon Gwendolyn, who was gradually devoured by Aldrich. This golden bow is imbued with powerful magic, and is most impressive with moonlight arrows.
Now, seek not she knoweth her fate, what will become of her upon her duty's end. She would not wish thee follow her.
Whoops. Apologies there. I totally forgot that Ludleth had more to say about Henri when we left his menu. But basically, he was saying that Henri did not want us following him. I think there's a little bit of a glitch with which lines were selected. Ludleth was referring to Henri as a she, which is only the case if you are playing a male character. I think kind of like Patch's insult back in the Cathedral of the Deep, they messed up with triggering the proper lines. But, okay, back to Aldrich. First off, and it's a minor detail, all things considered, but if you were looking closely, I said that, Aldrich had a spear which was topped with a Gravelord sword blade. The spear itself was this right here, the golden ritual spear that we were checking out earlier. So either he had affixed the Gravelord blade to it, or he was conjuring a Gravelord blade in sort of the same manner that he was conjuring a Life Hunt Scythe. Which begs the question, right? What exactly did Aldrich have to do with Gravelord Nito? Were some remains of the Gravelord also consumed by Aldrich? Or was Aldrich, at some point in the past, a Gravelord's servant, and through his servitude had access to the Gravelord Greatsword? And furthermore, I am hoping, genuinely hoping this is not the case, but it's worth mentioning that he may, Aldrich that is, may have also gotten his, I don't know, his formless mass. He may have gotten a hold of Priscilla, not just Gwendolyn. Just given the fact that he has the Life Hunt Scythe ability, and that the fact that Yorshka exists means someone interacted with Priscilla in all likelihood. I don't feel like this is the case. I feel like he derived that ability just from the memories of Gwendolyn, but I thought it was worth at least bringing up to do with what you will. Personally, for my own well-being and state of mind, I'm just going to assume that he did not also devour Priscilla, because that would suck. Everybody likes Priscilla. Okay. Now that we have discussed as much as I have for now with Aldrich, and we've deposited his cinders upon its throne, let's see if we can't track down Henri. He requested we not follow. It's time we find out why he requested we did not follow him. And I'm going to actually, before we do, take a quick look at Henri's sword here. Sword precious to Henri, another unkindled. The dullest type of blade found in the ruined land of Astora. Only, it was once the sword of an earnestly noble figure, and its attacks are boosted by that elusive, essential property unique to humans, luck. So, Henri's sword, the model is identical to the Astora straight sword. The coloration is different. Instead of gold on the hilt, it's silvery, and the blade itself has a kind of blue tint to it. And the weapon scales, you can't see it here, but the weapon scales off of luck, which is, combined with the fact that it scales off of luck and the color of the blade, that is definitely a nice reference to Demon Souls, the Blue Blood sword, which is a straight sword that scaled off of luck in that game, derived from the soul of Saint Astraea. I'm not sure, but we might derive from the language on the blade that this weapon may be related to the one that an Astoran hero of old used to defeat the beast of the evil eye. Just a bit of errant speculation there. Nothing concrete. But now you see me, getting back to the present, you see me wander around the Cathedral of the Deep. That is because I am searching for Henri. I've never actually proceeded through Henri's quest in quite the way I did this time. There he is. I usually notify Henri of where Horus is, and if you do that, Henri will be in a different location after you defeat Aldrich for him. But since he never was disclosed, we never were able to disclose that information to him. He instead shows up here at the Cathedral of the Deep, and yes, as you can see, we are able to lock on to Henri, which means, having completed his duty, his desire to basically take down and most likely take revenge on Aldrich, and I guess with nothing more to drive him, Henri has hollowed, I believe. And we will be forced to fight him. For his own good, of course. Oh. Good instincts on me. These gravestones here, I wonder if these are... I wonder if these mark the... if not the actual bodies, they commemorate the lives of the children who did not escape Aldrich, as I suspect Horace and Henri did. And in his last moments of sanity, Henri returned here to be close to those who he could do nothing to save. Bummer town, I know, but this is the way of things in the Dark Souls world. We're all just trying to hang on, you know? If you lose your purpose, you pretty much lose everything. Although, at least for Henri, I think it was a peaceful transition. Unlike poor Horace, who I feel had succumbed to despair. I think Henri just simply let go and allowed himself to hollow. We are not quite done with the happy fun times yet. There's another NPC whose quest we can advance now that we've killed Aldrich. Heyo. Appears to me I have a lot of souls. Hopefully I won't risk any of those in the upcoming event. Leave me alone, Dag. So, returning to the cathedral in the undead settlement in the Pit of Hollows. Once again, we have a sign requesting cooperation. Sorry, hold on for just a moment. Alright, and I'm back. I'll cut out that little break there. So, you won't have to deal with it at all. But, sorry, regaining my train of thought. Once again, Cirrus of the Sunless Realms is requesting our assistance. So we will answer.
I finally found you. Just as I promised, Grandad. Remember? Good night, Grandad.
So, a solemn showdown there between Cirrus and Holy Knight Hodrick, who is now revealed to have been her grandfather. It's pretty funny. In our fight there, Hodrick was as tough as he ever is, and we almost managed to mess him up before he got a single sip of his flask, but in the end it was his own pyromancy that killed him.
Oh, there you are. I'm afraid I've involved you in my affairs, over a little promise at that. My sincerest thanks for your assistance. At last, my grandfather will rest in peace, and I can die. But there is one last, may I take a vow? To serve you as a knight.
I did not skip through her dialogue, by the way. It seems to be slightly glitched, and the next line triggers before that initial line concludes.
Oh, I am most grateful. I, Cirrus, do hereby serve as your faithful knight. Wherever, whenever I am needed. My loyalty shall never waver. Blessing of the moon upon your journey.
And again, we had another line of dialogue that just didn't happen. She's like, even if all the rest turn against you. Kind of irritating, but oh well.
If I may ever be of assistance, I am your knight forever and true. Blessing of the moon upon your journey.
Well, you say forever, but I don't know if I believe you. Yeah, so Cirrus seems that her purpose in this land was to track down her grandfather, the supposedly mad hollow Holy Knight Hodrick, and grant him a final rest. And now that we've helped her do as much, we can head back out into Firelink and see this kind of isolated grave. We can obtain the Sunset Shield. Shield of the Holy Knights of the Sunless Realms, engraved with a brilliant flame crest that burns brightly within the Order's customary sunset colors. This design symbolizes those who both harbor and oppose the power of flame. Suppose this is Hodrick's grave then. Again, if not his literal grave where his body is buried, then a symbolic one. Cirrus seems to have laid his shield to rest there, and we've yoinked it right up. Oh, like I said before, the shield is definitely the same model used for the Mira shield. So I don't know, does that mean there's a connection between the Sunless Realms and Mira? You decide. But for the time being, till we defeat one of the last bosses in the game, Cirrus's quest does not extend any farther than this. So we'll just have to be patient to see it to its end. So, let's check out the Shrine Handmade store once again, because we have access to new wares. The Elite Knight set is now available. Armor said to have been given to Elite Knights of fallen Astora. The mere mention of Astora invokes wistful pangs, and perhaps it was such a dream that drew Henri to this faraway home, known only by name. The phrasing on this armor is a little muddled, but I think what it's referring to here is that Henri was drawn to Astora, the story, the tales of it, and felt a connection to Astora, even though it was far away, and possibly even though he may have never actually been there, given that it has fallen into ruin. We also now have access to Smo's armor. Grotesque armor associated with Smo, the last knight to stand in defense of the ruined cathedral. Boasts extremely high defense and can be donned by humans, but not without great difficulty. And I believe we gained access to this after defeating Aldrich, which does create certain illusions, does it not? We know that Smo was fond of consuming the flesh of those he executed. It is entirely possible that there is a distinct connection between Aldrich and Smo. The small doll indicates that Irithyll, and possibly by extension Anne Orlando, was the true birthplace of Aldrich. May also be the case for Smo. Or we simply got Smo's armor because that's where we fought the battle with him in that cathedral, and the only reason we're getting access to it now is that we beat a boss in the cathedral, so now we can buy the armor. It's not necessarily linking Aldrich and Smo, but the two do have some very distinct similarities, and as always, I think it's worth bringing up because of that. Alrighty. It does not look like we have access to the sunset armor just yet. I think we'll have to complete Sirius's quest line before we get that. That would be Hodrick's armor, by the way. Oh, I forgot some time ago when we got the Eastern's Ashes to talk about the wood grain ring. This special ring, crafted in an eastern land, is made of metal, but with a wood grain crest on its surface. Slows equipment degradation. Wielders of swords originating in the same region follow a practice of inscribing special words on the blades of their swords, and are naturally drawn to this ring. Interesting ring. Again, something that Shiva sold. Not profoundly useful to us, though. Weapons don't break very easily in Dark Souls 3, for which I am ecstatic. But we also need to check out a new item that appeared, I believe, as a result of Sirius's quest line. Budding Green Blossom. Green flower-shaped weed with white blooms. The brief attached message suggests that it was a gift. Goodbye, dear grandmother. I will visit grandfather in the pit of hollows. Okay, so let's conclude here our speculation that we started so long ago with regards to Hodrick. Hodrick and Sirius are related. He is her grandfather. And I suspect that the Shrine Handmaid may be Sirius's grandmother, due to the fact that she has possession of this unique budding green blossom. And potentially, I think this is also potentially borne out by the Dream Chaser's ashes, which are the only ashes that the Shrine Handmaid has a unique reaction to. And as soon as we had gifted her those ashes and told her about where we found them, Cirrus shows up again, commenting on our kindness. So I feel like Cirrus has been talking to the Shrine Handmaid, and it only makes sense, or it not only makes sense, but it makes sense in that context that the Shrine Handmaid is her grandmother, and thus most likely the wife of Holy Knight Hodrick. Just judging by the shape of Hodrick's helm, it looks similar to the helm worn by the Abyss Watchers. So it's possible that Hodrick had ambitions of becoming an Abyss Watcher, but for one reason or another became a Mad Hollow instead. And Cirrus has only just now freed him of this possibly grim fate. He seemed alright when we met him, but he did keep trying to kill us, so fair enough. I suppose that does belie a certain madness.
Ashen One, bring with it.
Of course, she has nothing to say about this. Get the impression that the Shrine Handmaid is rather tight-lipped about most things. She's even selling this budding green blossom with its sentimental, to Cirrus anyway, message.
Ashen One,
Anything to make a few souls, right? Your grandmama's twisted, Cirrus. Assuming that's true. Alright. I believe we have cleared up all the NPC quests we have to worry about for the time being. So I think it's time that we trudged forward, made some progress. Actually, sort of a lie. Let's go in. I know we have an Estus Flash shard, so let's reinforce that real quick.
Tis what
Okay.
prithee be careful.
Ah, and I almost forgot, but Grey Rat has returned, which is delightful.
Oh, then we're both safe and sound. Thank the gods for that. I don't like getting things so close. I might have died if it wasn't for that peculiar onion knight. But in the end, it all paid off. Take a good look. They're sure to be of some use.
So, Grey Rat just barely survived his foray into Irithyll, and only did so thanks to the intervention of Sigurd on his own journeys. If we had not rescued Sigurd from the well, Grey Rat's chances would have been far less good. There is another way to save him at that point. If you speak to Patches, Patches will attempt to settle his old debt to Grey Rat, but not necessary since we had Sigurd about.
You can keep them as...
Still talking about that ring. Alright. Let's see what he has for us. I think extra divine blessings and a hidden blessing. Makes sense. He now has a handful of twinkling and titanite scale. And here we go. Scholar's Candlestick. A candlestick covered in ivory scales, once used by the scholars of the Great Archives. This served as their guiding light as well as a tool of self-restraint. Even today, wielders of this weapon benefit from the resulting sorcery strengthening properties. So that's interesting. A candlestick covered in ivory scales, used by scholars of the Great Archives. You know, the Great Archives are an incredibly important part of Lothric, and that the scholars are one of the 3 pillars of rule in Lothric. And the ivory scales, combined with the Great Archives, draws very strong allusions to our old buddy Seath the Scaleless. Something to keep in mind for later. He also has, and it's very interesting that he went to Irithyll, and he's coming back with a bunch of Lothric stuff. But the Lothric Knight Sword is, by the way, also new. But we have read this item before. Lothric Knight Greatsword. Ultra Greatsword of the Venerable Knights of Lothric. Imbued with the strength of lightning, the trademark of dragon hunting. Very few have demonstrated the extreme strength and dexterity required for this weapon, even in the long history of the Lothric Knights. So kind of elite among elites weapons among the Lothric Knights. And like it says, it has a bit of lightning damage inherent to the blade. We might have used it, but that 16 dexterity requirement kind of goes beyond what I think I'm going to be doing for this character. The Lothric Knight Spear is also available for purchase now, but we already acquired one of those a long time ago through farming. Knight's Crossbow also. I'm not sure if he had it before, but he certainly sells a Lothric Knight Shield and Lothric Knight Great Shield. Again, very weird to me that he goes to Irithyll and he comes back with a bunch of Lothric stuff. And previously he went to the Undead Settlement and came back with Pontiff Knight Shields and Swords? I wonder if there was some sort of mistake in programming what he came back with. Or if the order in which he visited locations was different originally, and they changed it without really changing like the dialogue and where he was going. As far as armor, nothing new. It does have new ammunition for us, and it does remind me of an item we had to look at anyway. The Moonlight Arrow. Magical arrows said to have been used by the Dark Moon Knights. Imbued with a silver light, these arrows inflict magic damage. It is said that long ago, the god of the Dark Moon, Gwendolyn, wielded these arrows with a matching golden bow. Dragon Slayer Great Arrow. Large spear-like arrows created by the giant blacksmith of the gods. Can only be used with great bows. These large arrows were said to have been used by the dragon hunters during the Age of the Gods. Easily pierces human flesh. Dragon Slayer Lightning Arrow. Large spear-like arrows enveloped in lightning, yet again created by the giant blacksmith of the gods. Lightning has been a weapon of dragon slayers ever since the time of Gwyn, the First Lord. Not sure if I read these before. Forgive me if I have. Sniper bolts. Red feathered bolts used by snipers of Kareem. Their long range makes them ideal for distant targets. Though typically used with sniper crossbows in Kareem, these arrows can be used with any kind of crossbow. And the most infamous wielder of the sniper crossbow would have to be Marvelous Chester from the Dark Souls 1 DLC, and of course from Kareem. And finally we have lightning bolts, again created by our old friend the Giant Smith. Bolts imbued with lightning created by the giant blacksmith of the gods. However, the gods never used crossbows. These bolts are likely artifacts of the Dragonless era, when the pact between gods and humans was upheld. So I guess that's implying that gods granted some measure of their lightning powers to humans. And there you go. Honestly, not the most impressive haul, but useful if you're hurting for these kinds of Titanite, or if you never had the opportunity or the stomach to farm Lothric Knights for their weapons. Still, we appreciate it.
Goodbye. And stay safe. Oh, this place.
Already wanting to go out again. that gray rat. Okie dokie, everyone. I think we're just about out of time for this episode. We didn't actually get back out there like I was thinking we might, but all well and good. I hope you'll forgive yet another rambling, entirely lore-focused episode. I always enjoy making them because I always get fired up talking about this sort of thing, but I understand standing around Firelink isn't the most thrilling of things we could do. There's a bit of action, so hopefully that will suffice. Next time, we're going to change up our fashion again. I think we're going to choose a new weapon to wield. I haven't decided just what that's going to be yet, so hope you'll look forward to that, and also our foray into the Irithil dungeon. Take care, everyone.